Hi, it's Mark. I wanted to talk briefly today about an aspect of communication that I think is easily overlooked. Because when we're communicating, whether it's writing workshops, business correspondence, or public speaking, we get really focused on what's the message and how to structure things, beginning, middle, end, all that sort of thing. But I think there's a really important element of communication that is part of those things, but it's also a really important component of every other kind of communication we have. Whether it's with a stranger at a counter picking up our cup of coffee, whether it's the person in the next lane in traffic that we want to not just wave to, we want to only use one finger. You know the situation I'm talking about. But we also have situations in meetings, conferences, online Zoom calls with 20 people on the screen, or just one-on-one with people. When we're face to face and we say something we shouldn't have, we see it in someone's face. They see it in their eyes immediately. If we put somebody off, if we said something that was, oops, that was inappropriate, we usually get at least a physical reaction in terms of someone's expression. And sometimes we'll get a remark, a reply, or we'll get some pushback. But what kind of pushback do you get when you send a text? When you send an email? When you write a letter? I think we need to be even more conscious of these nuances in those situations, because we aren't face to face with someone. We aren't, well, I guess we're face to face with the person at the counter when we're getting our cup of coffee, or the stranger on a street corner. When we interact with someone, whether it's for 5 seconds or 5 hours, the most important part of communication is how the other person feels about it, right? And if you're having a chat with somebody about something, you know how you feel. You don't need a conversation to figure out how you feel or what you think. But the communication involves the exchange of ideas, the exchange of communication. And if we are not respectful to the other person, if we are not kind to the other person, are they going to listen to what we have to say? It's a really important nuance. And I think we forget it so often, particularly when we're banging on quick replies to people, to emails or text messages, that kind of thing. We're so focused on the message or the answer, and sometimes the speed of our communication, we forget the importance of the softer, kinder, gentler beginning. It doesn't mean you need to be long-winded and do a 5-minute preamble to a conversation. But hello, how are you doing? Nice to see you. Can we talk about X, whatever the subject is a far nicer way to start a conversation. And most conversations begin that way. But do they end that way? Do they end with the same good feeling they began with? Do they end with an appreciation by both sides that they've heard the other, that there's a good feeling about that? And I think one way to measure this sometimes is, I think we all have this bit of regret. I've certainly had it many times, when you haven't heard from somebody for a while. And maybe the last talked a year ago, or 2 years ago, or met 3 years ago. And you dropped the ball. Somebody dropped the ball. So how did that conversation end? Did that person leave that conversation with, I don't want to talk to that person again? Or I'm in no rush to talk to that person again? As opposed to how we'd like people to feel, that they want to hear from us, they want to reach out to us, that they want to continue to do business with us, or they want to refer their friend to us. Well, if that kind of thing isn't happening, maybe the root cause is in our conversations. So how do we cure this? I think we cure it one conversation at a time. We cure it by being mindful the next conversation and the one after that and the one after that. Are we thinking positively toward that person? Are we thinking kindly toward that person? Are we thinking optimistically to where that conversation could go? And sometimes in the hurried to and fro of a business day, if we pause, we say, where do we want that conversation to go? Well, whether the answer is that I want them to take my call next time, through to there's this big project we're working on with a big payday at the end of it, I want that to conclude successfully. Either way, don't we want those communications to go well? Don't we want that to land well so that the person says, oh, that felt good. They had a good conversation with us. As opposed to, oh, that guy was so cynical or sarcastic or difficult or argumentative or unkind. Because our words usually telegraph how we feel. So if we're short and curt and abrupt and difficult with someone, it usually means that we don't think very highly of them, or we don't think very highly of their valuable time. Or maybe we just think our urgency is more important than them. Well, I don't think that works really well. My experience has been that it doesn't. So every conversation, let's spend a few moments thinking, how do I want this conversation to begin? And we usually can judge the relationship by how the conversation ends. Does it end on a positive note of two people who want to talk again, that have made some progress, whether it's just catching up with an old friend, or whether it's trying to solve a problem or build a wonderful solution to make the world a better place? Whichever end of that spectrum you're on, every communication matters. Every conversation matters. Have a great day. That's a wrap for me. My name is Mark Kolke, and I'm sending this to you and hoping that this ends well for you. And next time you have a conversation, you're not wondering afterwards, oh, that didn't end so well, did it? You want it to end well. So bye for now.